got this, bro.
Malik, every year that you did this before it, that always come down.
Yeah.
That's the only way I remember.
No, put it through there. Put it there. Yeah.
Now put it through the loop.
Yeah. Put it through the loop. Put it through the loop. Yeah. Put it through the loop. No, don't put it like that. Don't put it like, you gotta keep that straight.
Are we allowed to tell him how to do it? You said we're allowed to tell him how to do it.
Right there.
Put it like that.
Put it in there.
Is this a calculator? That's not a calculator. I do that all the time.
Don't pull it. Don't pull it. Don't pull it. Make sure it comes up. Keep on.
Yes.
Alright, now pull it.
Pull it up. Slowly. Pull it up.
Don't blow out.
Wait, how did you pull mine out? Why y'all pulling it?
Alright, stay. Yeah, that's
There we
good.
go.
Yeah.
That's it. He did it. He good.
Yeah.
Did I get it?
Greetings, everyone. Peace. Hope you all are enjoying or have enjoyed your day today. You know, it's something I was building with, well, I don't say building, maybe shedding some light on for someone recently who was asking some questions surrounding the amount of time that men have to devote to women and children when they're in a plural situation. You know, plural meaning that there may be more than one other adult involved in their marital or just their relationship period. And, you know, how do they really regulate the time that's left over? And, you know, and the thing that was said, what sparked it, was that the person asked me, said, you know, women need a lot of attention. And, you know, because of that, I wonder if in that situation a man has enough time and attention to give, because women need so much attention. So what I had shared was that, you know, typically a healthy woman doesn't need nearly as much attention as one might imagine. You know, but when you're in an environment where there's a void of there's a void of healthy relationships and healthy bonds between family and other women, and a lot of times even if that woman doesn't have children or healthy relationships with her children, then what occurs is she then and this is not just her, you know, males do this too. They then look for their partner to become their full one-stop shop for satiation in every area of their life. So they want them to satisfy the friend role, the lover role, the confidant role, the therapist role, the coach role, personal trainer role. You know, if they smoke, they want them to be the plug. You know, so there's just so many different areas that they pull from, and it's really unfair because one person is not humanly, you know, usually capable of fulfilling so many different roles. And the only reason, again, that that's desired is because community is usually not healthy. There's not a healthy sense of community. There's not a healthy sense of same-sex camaraderie, you know, because that's what really keeps the insanity down. You know, when you have someone you can share ideas with, and you're going through things, and you're maybe even bewildered about certain things that are happening in your world and your children's world, and you have someone of the same sex who you can speak to, and you can experience that sisterhood, or you can experience that brotherhood, and find out if it's you acting crazy, or maybe it's a collective thing with your entire sexual assignment, that we all do this. You know, so I mean, obviously there's so many different benefits, but a lot of times people don't have healthy relationships with their parents or with their siblings, or even have friends. So they look for their relationship to completely fill that void. You know, and of course, sometimes, even though people are looking for it, you have other folks who know nothing else but to try to satiate everything, especially if the relationship for them is a do or die situation in their mind. I gotta make this work. This has to work. You know, but the truth is, when you cultivate healthy bonding experiences among young people, and you get them into a space where they can really not only encourage and motivate each other, but they can confide in one another, and they create a youthful subculture where adults don't intrude upon, can't intrude upon. Then as they get older, that peer group still becomes, or even the idea of a peer group, even if it's not the same exact peer group, they may grow older and move to other places and things like that. But the idea of always having that kind of peer group present, as a support system, just becomes a mainstay in the psyche of that adult or that young adult. And there's so many times, where I speak to people, and in the work that I do, and we're doing spiritual readings or family consultations. Sometimes I'm doing some family therapy, and that's the root of the problem. And I'm going to say half the time that's what it is. There's no healthy peer group. So they're just asking too much. Because one of the things that I had told the person, I said, in truth, men don't need to be around their families nearly as much as we think they do, or as we're told they do. Men should be out building things and creating things, and shoring up the foundations of the home, and shoring up the foundations of the community, so that way the family can be safe to do what it is it's supposed to do. Because if that man is transmitting the values and the imperative properly to his wife, then his wife is going to take that and transmit it to the children. Because, up to a certain age, let's say up to the age of 13, those children are primarily in the purview and domain of that wife. She has a responsibility towards the children, like the man has a responsibility towards the whole house, in terms of being that guide, that leader, that conductor, if you will. So he doesn't actually need to be as present. And a lot of you men may be able to identify with this. When a child is really young, and I'm saying infant, child really doesn't want much to do with the father. Whoever's feeding me, if you don't have breasts and milk, I'm not interested. Just pass me to mommy. That's the most you could do with me. Pass me to mommy. You could barely even play with an infant. They're just not that interested. It's when they get a little bit older, where they get used to your smell and your voice, where you can kind of come in and have some fun with them and things like that. But the truth is, for what they need, in those early stages, directly need, not via proxy. What they directly need, you don't have. So what you're really providing is a safe space for them to reside in. The warm home, or the roof that doesn't leak, or, making sure that the mother has enough nourishment so her milk is healthy. Things like that, So a lot of times we confuse that, because there's a homogeny that is purported and campaigned for, where we just have to do the same thing. And when you start speaking about gender roles, people get very offended, because the programming them, that's inside of them, that's what gets offended. And you say, well, women are best suited for this, men are best suited for that, and my culture. Oh, well, there should be no gender roles, you just, whoever's best suited for what? Well, I just told you who's best suited. So we hate the idea that there's differences, that, we're designed and created different. And, even if it is arbitrary, even if it is random, the fact is that we're still different. It's just like if you're trying to establish a building or a fort, and you're using live rock. If you're using natural rock, you're going to pick rocks. Certain rocks are going to do better at the lower part of the building. Certain rocks will do better, to make a chimney. And you may not say, well, this rock is better than that rock. They're all just suited to a different purpose. So it's a very valuable thing when you're able to kind of come to that place mentally, where you can accept those differences and you can celebrate them, because then you start to see when a child is young, what needs to really be cultivated in their peer group environment, and the support that needs to be cultivated, as well as the education that varies per peer group. I've been advocating for years that young boys should have a different kind of education than young girls. They need different things. Their bodies mature at different rates. Their mind and their emotional systems mature at different rates. What will be required of them later on in life will be different. And just because you live in a society that tells y'all, don't worry about that, everybody do the same thing, it doesn't mean that you should necessarily be allegiant to that. You should think about it. Well, why would they want everyone to do the same thing? What are we being trained for? Because we're definitely not being educated, because education means to draw forth, or to draw out from the word educar. So, if I'm a man or I'm a young boy and this one's a young girl, what we have to draw out is going to be unique. Even among two different young boys or two different young girls, what they have to draw out is going to be unique because we all have our own unique genius. And remember, genius just means hidden substance. So we all have a substance in us that's unique to us, and education draws out that unique strain of what it is that we are or have the potential to be or even want to be. That's what the education provides for us. So, I just was kind of vibing on that and wanted to address that, like I said, and it goes much deeper, of course. There's more constituents to even that idea that I'm sharing of that uniqueness that can and should be expressed, in the individual, and what each child can use and what children desire and need and use, generally, in order to grow into and develop.
Oh, bro, got this, bro. Malik, like every year that you did this before it, that always come down.
Yeah.
That's the only way I remember.
No, put it there. Put it there. Yeah.
Now put it through the loop.
Yeah. Put it through the loop. Put it through the loop. Yeah. Put it through the loop. No, don't put it like that. Don't put it like you gotta keep that straight.
Are we allowed to tell him how to do it? You said we're allowed to tell him how to do it.
Right there.
Like that.
Put it in there.
It's a calculator. That's not a calculator. I do that all the time.
Don't pull it. Don't pull it. Don't pull it. Make sure it comes up. Keep on.
Yes.
Right, now pull it.
Pull it up. Slowly. Pull it up.
Don't blow out.
Wait, how did you pull mine out? Why y'all pulling it?
Alright, stay. Yeah, that's
There we
good.
go.
Yeah.
That's it. He did it. He good.
Yeah.
Did I get it?